Hi, I'm James Schillinglaw, and I'm here with Ricarda Lindner, who's the Regional Manager Americas for the German National Tourist Office, and she's based in New York, although she's not in New York right now, but we'll talk to her about that. And we're going to talk with Ricarda about what's going on with Germany, when it's going to restart. I think some of it already has restarted. And we're going to look at the tourism prospects for this year and 2021. And this is Insider Travel Report. Now, Ricardo, first of all, where are you and how are you doing, first of all?
Well, first of all, James, thank you so much for having me. Well, we actually, when all of this happens in New York and we had to close our offices, we moved to our little cabin in the woods, upstate New York, 1.5 hours northwest of New York City. And enjoying our country life up here. Kids can run outside. We have a lot of acres around us, very few neighbors, a trampoline, and lots of fun.
Well, there you go. That's you are sheltering in place up in the Catskills. That's nice. Now, to give us an update on how Germany was hit by COVID-19 and how the country has dealt with the crisis.
As most of the European countries, also Germany got its fair share of cases. And I always say a little bit that Europe was 2 weeks ahead of the US, give and take a couple of days left and right. And Germany has dealt with the crisis really well. We went very early into a closure, into a shutdown with lots of cooperation by the people with fantastic leadership in the political ranks. And which ended up to the fact that economically, politically, and of course, medically, Germany is in a very good stage right now. As a matter of fact, the London Deep Knowledge Group is examining the countries around the world and how they're dealing with it exactly amongst these three parameters: medically, economically, and politically. And Germany twice has now been voted on position number 2. In Europe and in the world, so we're pretty proud of that, and I think we can have good confidence in the ability of our leadership to open up the country in a safe and secure way.
Well, let's talk about that. I know you were starting to reopen and have gotten away. How is Germany reopening for business, specifically for travel business? I know everyone's sort of starting with neighboring countries and maybe the rest of Europe before we get to North America, US, and Canada. Tell us a little bit about what the process has been and where you are in the reopening phase.
Absolutely. And I know you're down in Florida, James, so things might feel a little different, but here in New York, in a lockdown situation still, to the biggest part, it's just unbelievable that Germany opened up for Germans a couple of weeks ago already. So restaurants are open, stores are open, bakeries are open, cafes are open, of course, all with measurements and security and distancing and masks and all kind of new procedures that have been put into place to keep everybody secure. But life has really returned to a facet of normal. My colleagues are all back in their offices again and enjoying actually teamwork with a little bit of social distancing in between. So that has happened a number of weeks ago. Now on June 15th, our government has just informed us that Germany will be opening up within the Schengen countries and some additional countries like Switzerland, Great Britain, Norway, Iceland, etc. on June 15th. So we're very excited about this. There was always day travel or very early on day travel possible, for example, between Germany and Holland. But now the countries are opening up within the Schengen. And so first, for just in the start of the summer season and the summer holidays, travel will be possible again in Europe.
What about when? Is there any idea when travelers from North America might be able to get to Germany?
We have no official date yet, but we do know that our foreign minister 2 weeks ago already said once we go into sort of phase 1 in opening up within Europe on June 15th, the next conversations will be held with the United States. So this is very, very good news for us. And obviously, the tourism infrastructure is open. Our Neuschwanstein, our favorite castle in Bavaria, is open. Museums are open. Again, all with different procedures in place in order to stream guests and make sure that the logistics are in a safe place. But all the infrastructure is open. Hotels are opening. As I said, restaurants are open. It's almost as we always experienced it.
But as you said, there may be different new protocols at hotels and attractions to sort of prevent any potential spread of COVID-19, right?
Absolutely. And that actually goes a little bit to the advantage, especially for our visitors and guests coming in, because you go, for example, back to Neuschwanstein, there were always huge crowds. And now you have to have tickets in advance, you have to have stamp tickets in advance. So it actually disperses the crowds a little bit and makes it actually a little bit a better experience to visit the sites and really indulge with it.
No, that's great. And so but travelers eventually, even when we as North American and the US travelers get over to Germany, will have to expect a little bit different process as we have to in our attractions and hotels here.
Right. But it seems, and I have not been there myself, but I'm hearing this from my friends and family, that it's relatively seamless. You go to a restaurant, you have to make a reservation, you give your name and your contact information, as you would always do. Well, you sit a little further apart from the other table next to you, but that might also be a little bit of an advantage.
No, and I know, having done that down here, that having restaurants with a little bit more spacing between the tables is not such a bad thing at all. Now, also, obviously, we also have to look to airline travel. And I know I recently saw Lufthansa is putting in more flights. And I think they're even coming from North America, although really more for people who really need to get back and forth as opposed to tourism and travelers. But it sounds like your airline service is coming back briefly. Is that true?
Absolutely. So we always had traffic going and flights and services between North America and Germany, but you're right, that was more for Germans going back to Germany at the beginning. But now, as of June 1st and June 15th, Lufthansa is increasing their service. They're increasing their service from Newark to Frankfurt and Munich, as well as from Chicago to Frankfurt and Munich, and they're reinstating the service from LA and San Francisco to Munich. So that's great news for us, that obviously without our airlines, we don't have any visitors coming to our country. So we're very excited about this. As of July 1st, all United hubs in the US should be connected with all the Lufthansa Group hubs in Europe. That is planned for July 1st, so yet an increase in service. And as of September 1st, Lufthansa is planning to increase their capacity in connectivity between cities to 40% of the original service. And so we see a light at the end of the tunnel. We hope, obviously, that our airlines know something that we don't know yet. And we're very much looking forward to additional service, because that is the motor for our guests to travel. And looking a little bit beyond Lufthansa, we also see Delta, American Airlines, and United not being far behind and reinstating their services from their major hubs back into Germany. So all good news on that front.
No, that's great. And when we are ready to travel and when the borders are open for North Americans, I'm glad to see we'll get service there. And I, for one, even though there's a lot of talk about people traveling domestically first, and that might be initial for a month or two, I still think there's a strong desire by Americans to travel to Europe, whether it's Germany or another destination. I think you may see some travelers. And with that question, obviously this year was looking pretty good for you in terms of tourism numbers. And you had the Oberammergau Passion Play, which I was supposed to attend because I actually they drew some tickets, and an event, I think it was almost 2 years ago. It seems like a long time ago. I was sitting next to you and they drew my name, and I was going to go to see the Passion Play in May. And obviously that's now been canceled or postponed until 2022. So obviously those numbers were looking pretty good. Is there any sense of what kind of numbers you're going to see for the remainder of the year, or is that you're just not even looking at that? You're worrying about 2021 now?
Yes and no. So let's start with 2019, which was, I think, an exceptional year for all of us. We had over, just to put a little perspective to it, we had almost 7 million overnights from American visitors in Germany. That was an increase of over 4.3%. So fantastic numbers with which we were going into 2020. And you're absolutely right. Obviously, we were looking very much forward to Oberammergau, which yet is another big attraction for our American guests coming to Germany. Our January and February numbers, again, I just looked at them, but very strong as well, going into 2020 with an increase of 10%. Obviously, that changed as of March. So when it comes to the tourism numbers, we are hesitant for 2020, but that doesn't mean that we're not seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. When we talk to our major tour operators, we know that they have bookings on the book. We know that they have new bookings on the book for Q1 21, not only postponed bookings. So there's very, very good news out there. And we feel that our target group and our customers are so much more resilient and so much more courageous than we give them credit for. So we certainly want to be there for them in Q3, in Q4, with ideas, with inspirations to travel to Germany and entice them to visit our country yet again, whenever they feel ready, whenever they want to. But I think Q4 we will be seeing some travel, and certainly Q1. I think this whole pandemic has done quite a bit to all of us, and the ideas that the four walls are getting closer and closer on all of us increase the pent-up demand, and I'm pretty sure that tourism will be coming back much quicker than we expected, and we will be seeing that to Europe as well.
No, that's great news. And in that vein, you've also you've been marketing. I know you've been marketing during this crisis. How much have you relied on sort of virtual and experiential marketing to keep Germany top of mind among U.S. travelers and U.S. travel advisors?
Yes, and as a matter of fact, we've been very busy. We have never stopped our communication B2B. So on the contrary, we actually increased it. We saw so much demand from our wonderful travel advisors to get information and get education during these times where everybody has a little bit more time on their clock and in their calendar, that we beefed up our webinars from the regular schedule to once a week, twice a week. We have phenomenal attendance numbers. So we see that the need for education and also the interest of the travel advisors to use these times wisely and get information from the destinations and their suppliers is a very good sign for us. And so we continue and are still continuing our B2B communication very, very strong. Also, of course, with our key accounts, the tour operators, sorry. And on the media side, we're in touch with our wonderful journalists on a day-to-day basis, coming up with really, really creative ideas and creative stories about our destination. So that's a lot of fun.
No, absolutely. And originally, I think this year was going to be celebrating, was it Beethoven's 200th birthday? I lose track, but
250th.
250th. Okay, I lost 50 years there. So that so 250 was the theme, and you have proceeded with that campaign, or have you paused that effort?
We have paused the B2B communication, the online communication, but we're ready to get into the market as soon as the fog is lifting even further. So everything is in gear, but we also extended the campaign into 21 to give our famous composer a little bit more time in the limelight.
So you're having a year and a half birthday instead of just a 1 year birthday, right?
Exactly. Everybody who has a birthday during the pandemic can celebrate twice.
There you go. That's perfect. Now, we already talked about the training programs, and it's great that you've upped the ante with the travel advisors here in terms of is there anything else that you'd like to tell travel advisors at this time about how they can better sell Germany in the future and into 2021?
I have two recommendations. So meanwhile, we initiated on the B2C side, which is mostly online and social media, a really attractive empathy campaign. And I can only recommend everybody to have a look at our website, germany.travel. There's a big button. There's a very, very attractive video on Germany, and just send this as an inspirational tool out to your customers. This campaign will launch into a Germany Awaits You campaign. campaign and as an invitation for our guests to come back to Germany to visit us again. We're looking at the date to launch that yet. So please stay tuned for that. And of course, take advantage of the new things that are happening in Germany. The pandemic, as terrible as it is, also gave room or made room for some creative ideas. So you might have heard that unfortunately also our Oktoberfest has been canceled. But
I said, so it ain't so. That's hard. That was the worst news yet, right?
Exactly. But Munich came up with a really fun idea and said, like, you know what, we'll put on a decentralized Oktoberfest. And throughout the city, they're putting up stalls and putting up the carousels and all kinds of items that you would find on the Oktoberfest just to have the flair of it. And everybody can now celebrate it without having to make a reservation somewhere and be on the safe side by having a really nice Oktoberfest flair and event.
No, that's great. And I know, and hopefully maybe we'll get the Christmas markets in by December, because that's also a key time for Germany. And I know I've been to many of them, and it is a marvelous time to be in Germany and really enjoying it. But yeah, Oktoberfest was a bit of a blow coming on top of the Passion Play. After that, I was like, oh my God, what else is left? But
I know.
We have a lot of things going on. Well, Ricarda, thank you very much for taking the time to tell us a little bit about what's going on in Germany today with German tourism. And we do hope everyone can get back online and start selling Germany again very soon. They may already be doing that. And I certainly always appreciate the time with you to let me know about everything going on with Germany. And so now you still have to join me for 2022 for the Passion Play, because now I was pushed out till that date now in May 2022.
So we have something awesome to look forward to.
Absolutely, a year from now, but I'm sure we'll see you before then. Again, Ricarda, thank you very much for taking the time. I'm James Schillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.